Hello, what's up, guys? This is TS Football Broadcast. I'm back with another video. Tell me if you like this camera angle more. It's a little different. I'm kind of in my workstation position, so it's not the desk. I'm sitting like this on my chair where I watch the Gator Bowl, which I will talk about in this episode. Let's just get right into it. John Dorsey was fired. I am a Browns fan, so I have a very strong opinion on this, obviously, and I say it is a very, 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 very shitty move. Now, this is why he shouldn't have been fired. He drafts Baker, number one, debatably a franchise quarterback. He drafts Denzel Ward, pretty good corner. Now, Austin Corbett was a huge-time bust and was a terrible, terrible, terrible bust. He drafts Nick Chubb, the second leading rusher in the league. So it's like he screws up, but he makes up for it. And then he drafts Chad Thomas, which was an absolute waste of a pick. Now, Antonio Callaway, at the time, it's like, yeah, we needed an over-the-top guy. It made sense. But after the Odell Beckham trade, it was expendable. It ended up being a waste of a fourth, and yeah, it wasn't very good. Fifth round, we drafted Jannard Avery, who I think we should have kept. He was pretty damn fine. And then we drafted Damian Ratley in the sixth, who had one really good game with Baker. And I'm not judging 2019 because it's too soon. Although I like Greedy Williams, I like Mac Wilson, I like Sione Takitaki, and Austin Seibert is a better kicker than I've seen since Phil Dawson. All right, now let's get into some of the trades. He traded Deshaun Kaiser for Demarius Randall. We got one really good year out of Randall and one not so good year out of Randall, which is more than we would have gotten out of Kaiser, who would have been the backup to Baker, and frankly was one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever watched. He was terrible. He was inaccurate. He was just turnover heavy. It was really bad. And then we traded a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick for Jarvis Landry. This was maybe the best trade. Jarvis Landry is now my favorite receiver because he's awesome. You throw it to him, he's like, mine. Like, I freaking love him. He's good. He's our best receiver, to be honest. He had 1,200 yards this year. Sorry about that. And now we're getting to some of his second year where he made a few more of the errors. He traded Kevin Zeitler for Olivier Vernon, and I think there's a 4th and a 5th round involved in there somewhere. Like, I think it's Kevin Zeitler and a 5th for Vernon and a 4th, or vice versa on the picks. This was terrible. Hindsight's 2020. At the time, I was like, okay, this could be really good for our defense. In fact, it turned out it didn't work at all. Vernon looked washed up. Kevin Zeitler has been one of the best guards in the league, and we've been needing guard help all season. And yeah, Austin Corbett definitely wasn't that, which is, I think, what he thought was going to happen. And then we trade Odell for a 1st, 3rd, and Jabril Peppers. Where have we been thin at this year? Safety. What was Jabril Peppers? A safety. What could we have used with a 1st and a 3rd round pick? Talent. Like O-line talent. We could have grabbed an O-lineman, and we could have grabbed maybe a corner or even a receiver. And Odell just barely got 1,000 yards. I think the Odell trade was, I love Odell, but it was bad. We needed those picks and Jabril Peppers more than we needed Odell because, Antonio Callaway was a fuck-up, so it wouldn't have worked with him. But I think we could have done more. Like, our receiving core with David Njoku, half a season, or a quarter of a season of Njoku, I think we could, and Higgins could have been in his bigger role, and I think it would have worked. Because I think Mayfield, especially earlier in the season, was forcing the ball to Kaiser a lot. Or not, forcing the ball to Odell a lot. God, now I'm thinking about Kaiser. I have nightmares tonight because of that. And he hired Freddie Kitchens as his only head coaching hire. Yeah, that was pretty shitty. I'm not going to lie. That was a huge, huge, huge whiff. That was terrible. That was horrible at the time. It was a boom-bust hire, though, so I don't fully blame him, although that was pretty awful what we saw. Anyway, the reasons he was fired mainly were probably some of the errors, the Corbett, the Odell trade, and him having a huge ego. But I think he should have been retained. I like the direction we were going. We had an off year. I think we will have came back next year with him. And you know what? I think we will have made the playoffs. Now I'm like, we are screwed. All right, this next one's going to take a lot longer because I have to go over 10 years of content. And that is the Bruce Allen firing. He was a bonehead. He traded. I'll get into Alex Smith. The culture was not very good. All right, so let's just start off back in 2010. He traded a second and a fourth for an old ass Donovan McNabb who played for 1 year, 57% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 15 picks, and went 6-10. The only silver line of that is he drafted Trent Williams, who now is like, I fucking hate this place, get me out here. 2011, he traded said McNabb for a sixth, and that was really, really bad. He swapped picks with the Jags and got Ryan Kerrigan, who was pretty good, and they drafted Jarvis Jenkins in the second round, not so good. And remember that guy OJ Atagwa, or however you say his name? It's like Otagwe. He signed that guy to a huge deal, and he only played 1 year, and he was a huge fuck up. And they went 5-11. Oh, 2012. All right, so they decide to go after RG3. And they send a Herschel Walker-sized load. 2012, 2013, 2014 first, a 2012 second. Yeah, that really hindered the franchise going forward. RG3, if he had stayed healthy and Mike Shanahan / everyone in the Redskins organization hadn't fucked him up so bad, it might have worked. But yeah, that didn't go so hot. They drafted Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, and they got Alfred Morris in the 6th. They also signed Pierce Garcon and Tanner Jackson. It's like, yeah, it was not the best. And they went 10-6 and lost in the wild card. 2013, they go 3-13. They fire Mike Shanahan. They drafted David Amerson. Yeah, moment of silence for that. That was pretty terrible. And they drafted Jordan Reed. Moment of silence. Too many injuries. They also decided, in their infinite wisdom, to let go of Lorenzo Alexander, who is, I believe, still playing at a high level. He might have retired last year, but last year he was pretty solid. So it's like, yeah, that might have been just a little early. 2014, they draft Trent Murphy, who is now on the Bills, who's average, and Brashard Breeland, who is below average. But, I mean, on the other hand, they did sign Deshaun Jackson. On the other hand, they signed a guy named Hatcher and Andre Roberts to a 5-year deal. Yeah, it might have been just bad. Then they went 4-12 because they are very good. Oh, yeah, that was Jay Gruden's first year. Second year, they go 9-7, losing the wild card. They didn't have a terrible draft, though. They drafted Brandon Sheriff, Preston Smith, and Jamison Crowder. 2 of those players are gone now because their organization is garbage. And the third one, I think, just signed an extension. But they also released Brian Arakpo way too early. And then they have a really bad free agency. They signed Chris Culver, Deshaun Goldstein, a guy named, I think his name was Paye, to the long-term deals, and it does not work out at all. It's freaking terrible. None of those players lived up. In 2016, they essentially traded Will Fuller for Josh Doxson. Doxson, who was cut this year, Will Fuller, who was injury-prone but good. They went 8-7-1. They also drafted Sua Cravens. Fuller, I think it's Kendall Fuller. There's too many Fullers in the league. Get rid of some of the Fullers. There's too goddamn many. And Matt Ionis. They also signed Vernon Davis. Yay. Josh Norman. Nay. Josh Norman has been terrible this year. I think he had he just wasn't what he should have been. He fucked up. There's a span of 2017 he sucked, and then after that it's just been bad. Very bad player at this point, I'd say. Is Kendall Fuller, I remembered. 2017, they go 7-9 in their infinite regression. They draft Jonathan Allen, Fabian Moreau, and Monte Nicholson, Chase Rolla. And they sign Zach Brown, DJ Spencer, and they decide Terrell Pryor is a great idea. Trust me, I'm a Browns fan. I know he isn't a great idea. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. I was kind of hard on Pryor. And then they trade Kendall Fuller and a third for Alex Smith while letting Kirk Cousins walk. Now, barring the injury, I would say this wasn't god-awful. Then they trade for a fourth for a Clinton Dix rental. Great job. Trade a fourth for a rental safety who you overpay for a replica of the next season. Oh yeah, that's a spoiler alert. Also, they signed Paul Richardson. They drafted Daron Payne and Darius Geis. I think Daron Payne's good. I think Darius Geis, I haven't seen him. He's been injured the whole time. 2019, they traded for Case Keenum. What idiot trades for Case Keenum in 2019? You can sign him off a free agency, sure, but trading for him? Are you serious? Even if it's like a 7th or 6th, you don't do that. Jay Gruden also got fired. They went 3-13. Landon Collins was vastly overpaid, but they did draft Terry McLaurin, who was one of the best rookie receivers. Also, Adrian Pearson was extended. Overall, he was a terrible executive. Should have been fired after... Well, let's see. What instances could he have been fired? The McNabb debacle? The RG3 debacle? I would have maybe kept him after McNabb because, like, yeah, you know, he wasn't so bad the season before. I mean, he was old, though. I mean, the McNabb thing is, like, that's forgivable. And so, add on to that, they did draft Kerrigan next year. Now, after the RG3 disaster, I would have been like, all right, I'm cutting your ass. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. All right, now the Gator Bowl, which Tennessee won 23-22. And, yeah, I was kind of rooting for the Hoosiers in this. I was like, all right, come on, guys. You haven't won one like 20 years. Do something. But, yeah, that record was kind of, yeah, it wasn't good. It didn't end super well. Tennessee kept switching. Well, they didn't keep switching, but, like, they kind of, like, they took out, what was the starting quarterback's name? They took their starting quarterback out for a drive for Mayer, and he did terrible. Their starting quarterback was terrible, too. I think his name started with a T. I can't remember it off the top of my head for some reason. I have it written down, but I can't find it, but... Yeah, it was bad. I think he threw, like, 2 picks, and, yeah, it was pretty terrible. Their running back, Gray, though, he went off for 86 yards and a tutty, which kind of made the difference to an extent. But Jennings was kept in check for the fourth quarter, and both their quarterbacks looked like one-read guys, to be honest. And then their defensive back, Nigel, did drop a game-sealing pick, but it didn't matter because they won anyway, although I saw that, and I was like, are you kidding me, bro? That's not good. And then Indiana, Patrick Ramsey, he wasn't good throwing it. He was pretty good running it, though. He was terrible throwing. But, like, yeah, some of his throws were bad. They couldn't get Samson James started. He had, like, 11 carries for 19 yards, so it was all on Patrick Ramsey, and he did not do well. Their kicker went 3 for 4, so if he'd gotten that other kick, they would have won the game. They rallied pretty good in the third, though. Indiana did to try to get the lead, just win the game. And then Tennessee rallied in the fourth to win it, and Indiana kind of just melted down. It was not pretty. I did watch most of not most. I missed like most of the first quarter. I watched a good, like, solid end of the... Well, no, I watched most of the second, I think. Yeah, I watched most of the second. I started watching a halftime show, and then I was doing stuff between the halftime show and most of the third quarter, and then I watched all the fourth, and, yeah, it was... Whoo, boy, there was some really bad quarterback plays, what I will say. Also, guys, I am rather new to college football, so... If you guys are like, man, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, that might be why. Now, NFL football, I've been watching for a long time, so yeah, keep that in consideration. If I'm talking college ball, it's a little less like hardcore per se. I don't like super pay attention to it, but I kind of pay attention to it. But NFL, I pay a lot of attention to. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. There will be a wild card prediction video out soon. Have a nice day. Check Twitter in the description below. Have a nice day and goodbye.